So what I will do is start off by saying I love the movie. I thought it was gripping, it was thrilling, plenty of twists and turns. I thought all your performances were amazing, and yeah, it's such an interesting concept. David, am I correct in thinking this was your feature debut?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
first timer.
That's and for a first timer, that's amazing. And you, did you write it by yourself or did you co-write it? I can't.
No, I wrote it by myself.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
How happy are you with the reaction from audiences, and how rewarding is that as somebody who's been involved with every aspect of the production from day one?
I mean, it's incredible. Like it's kind of hard to believe it's happened this way. I think I wrote the first draft of this. I mean, it's more years ago than I like to admit. And I was living in an apartment like the one in the movie. And so the journey from there to here is been surreal. I was just thrilled that, Alok and Shane were willing to put up the money and make it. And then when we got this cast together, kind of by sheer luck that we ended up with this amazing cast. And then, as everyone here will attest, the production was extremely difficult. So, there were a lot of ups and downs, and it was a really long process. And then to have it come out and kind of catch the wind like it has on Netflix is just like, you couldn't, as a filmmaker, you couldn't ask for anything more to have, so many people experiencing something that that I put so much of my life into.
Yeah, and you mentioned Netflix. It's been doing absolute gangbusters on Netflix over in the States. It's not on Netflix over here. I watched it via Amazon, so it is out over in the UK. So for those that are watching on, this is going to go out on YouTube. There are plenty of ways for people to watch the movie. I've been obviously following the Twitter account, and there's been daily updates, and you've been in, going up in the rankings, and so many people have been showing their support and love, which is amazing. And Alok, how did you get on board with the project as well? How did that come about?
Well, my wife went to high school with Allard Cantor, who is David's manager, and his partner Jared Murray. They have a company called Epicenter, and they're also producers on the film. Mm-hmm. So we had one of those lunches that you have in LA. Where you just talk about your stupid selves, and then at the end of the lunch, I was like, "Well, can you send me some scripts?" And he did, and I'm such a bastard. I didn't read them for 6 months because I was working on another project, and then finally that project fell through, and I was like, I gotta find something, and so I did, and one of them was David's film, and we met and talked, and we had the same sensibilities, and he's a very sweet, such a super smart guy. And, we trusted him to go and hopefully deliver this thing. And the script was a great script. So we had this, Naomi Grossman always says, a good blueprint. So we were first time producers, and, he was a first time director, and like, what could go wrong? So yeah, lots. I mean, that's
everything.
I love that.
Naomi Grossman always says everything.
Yeah, she does. Cute.
I love that. So I'll go over to the cast now, and like I said before we started, I thought everyone's performances were absolutely spellbinding. I thought that I'd imagine reading the script, it was an absolute page turner for an audience member. I couldn't take my eyes off of what was happening. It was a hard watch, but in the best way possible, So and that's such an interesting way for a film to be for me, because I always like the horrors that are more thriller and really play with your mind in terms of moral dilemma, the psychological aspects, rather than your out and out scares or gore. So I'll start with Nicole, and this is a question for all the cast. How did you come on board with the film, and what was it about the script that really drew you to the project?
I think I initially auditioned for it in October, and we filmed in December. And I read the script, my agent sent me the script, and I really liked it. I don't know. I think just the first time reading it, I was like sitting on my couch and my roommate was nearby, and I kept being like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And my roommate was like, what are you reading? So I really liked it. And I think, you know, I kind of liked the storyline of Sarah, and, you know, she starts out kind of not really knowing who she is and then loses her way, but then eventually does find herself, of course, you know, in the most difficult way possible. But I did really connect to Sarah in a couple different ways. So I think, you know, I just graduated from college, and, you know, moving to a new place, starting a new life. So I kind of related to that aspect of her. Yeah, I initially auditioned in October, and then a few months later found out that I got it and flew out to California. So
that's amazing. I love the character arc. Again, that's something that I love in these types of movies is the lead character being interesting, relatable, and going on that journey. And as I said, your performance was so magical that it really resonated with me, and I'm sure a lot of other audience members as well.
You know, I've known Alok forever. One of his high school besties was one of my college besties. So when I pulled a Sarah and moved to Los Angeles upon graduation from college, millions of years ago, I was introduced to her, you know, clique of friends, among them Alok. So you know, I've been like, you know, networking with Alok, little did I know, for like 20 years.
Oh, wow.
So he came to me very early on, I think probably right after he had that panic attack, scrambling to find a script to do. And, you know, I remember him coming to me saying like, what do you think? Is this too, you know, horror porn or whatever? And of course, my answer is always, of course not. It's perfect amount. But no, I really did respond to the script. But it was probably maybe a year before, you know, it actually came to fruition.
Oh, brilliant.
I had done a short film, and I forgot, who knows George? Do you know George Alok, or do you know George?
No, I know George very well. We worked together.
That's right, of course. I did a short film with a really wonderful actor, filmmaker, and he showed the film to Alok, and Alok saw it, and Alok and I had met, I don't know, a year or two previous to that, right?
Like exactly a year, I think, to when I called you, because I'm besides that short film, which is a great short film, but I'm a huge fan of Taylor Nichols from, you know, all the Whit Stillman stuff, like Barcelona, Metropolitan. In fact, the first time I met you, Taylor, I was like, I have a Metropolitan poster. And you're like, really? I was like, I do. So he was like, okay.
Yeah.
But a year later, I called him up and I was like, listen, we have this part for you. Please read it. And I think I remember you were on vacation in Michigan or something. And you were
I was visiting my dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Take the time.
And I can remember David and I had a long talk on the phone. I was standing outside my dad's house talking about it. And I had seen your short films also, David, and really liked those.
Gotcha.
And so it was one of those things. You know, the project didn't pay a lot, so it has to be one of those jobs that you want to do. And I think that's kind of what ties us all together, and why we're kind of close, is because we really had fun doing it. Because we certainly didn't do it for the money. But I know now that it's doing great on Netflix, the checks are going to start coming in.
Oh yeah, they're going to roll in.
Roll in, like, you know.
Well, but I mean, it's really wonderful. I think, like, I think I'd said somewhere that, you know, like all good horror movies, this horror movie came out in April and then kind of went away, but it didn't die, you know, and it came back to life on Netflix, which is really nice. So.
And you mentioned you had a lot of fun doing it, and that definitely comes across in the performances, because what I found as well is, you know, when Sarah first comes into the community, it's very welcoming, but also just that little bit creepy. And it was, you know, that came from your performances, the chemistry. It felt so real and grounded before, you know, metaphorically, shit hit the fan. So the same question finally to Giles.
Okay, hold it. While Giles is talking, I got to go get some coffee.
Sure, go for it.
He doesn't want to hear your answer.
I mean,
Remember how we were remember how we were talking about we're all big fans of Taylor Nichols?
Yeah.
I'm less of a fan.
Yeah.
Less of a fan. I don't think he's very talented or good, and I think he's a pretty horrible guy, and I didn't enjoy working with him. So I have a
most of my job was just keeping the two of them apart.
Yeah.
Which was difficult because they're in so many scenes together, but we just did a lot of CGI, a lot of split screen.
Prop them together.
And even after social distancing before social distancing.
Exactly.
Even after the film's been over, I have been their go-between for insults to each other. I will say such things to Giles as, "Oh, hey, I thought you said you were in Ford versus Ferrari. I think I might have blinked and missed you." And then he'll retort back to Taylor, "Weren't you working on like Walking Dead for like 3 months or so? I just saw you in 2 minutes of it. Right. Time well spent."
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about careers, you know, I mean, trajectories. That's what we're all talking about, really. When it
one's
comes
this way, one's this way.
Yeah. And you know, every dog has his day, and I think Taylor, you'll be the first to admit, you know, yours is it's been and gone. But listen, you're a great guy and a great actor, and I think you're going to do very well with acting.
Right.
I really do. On a more serious note, I had nothing else to do, and I was really bored, and I got sent. No, on a serious note, it's one of those things that Taylor said that, you know, it's not going to pay well. You know that it could potentially be a complete fucking car crash, and I've done a few of those, and I thought, let's do another one. No. I thought that actually there was one monologue in it that I thought, well, there's actually, if anything, it could be a pile of fucking wank. But this one monologue I thought was written really well, and I thought, well, if I can at least make that special to myself, that's great, because I only read my part first because I'm quite a selfish person. And then I decided to have a look at the rest of the script, and I thought, actually, if this is done well, this could actually be quite good. And then I thought, you know, I'm in, because I'm obsessed with, also, I do really like cults, and I watch a lot of documentary. I recently watched Holy Hell, which is quite a good cult documentary. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go, I'm into this. So that's kind of long-winded why.
Awesome. Yeah, there's plenty of documentaries out there, and you know, maybe people who have watched this and haven't really been interested in finding out about what really goes on behind the scenes, because there's certainly a lot of cults potentially going on right under our noses. So for David, sort of elaborating on that, what what really gave you the idea for the script, and what did you draw inspiration from, and did you do any in-depth research or reach out to anyone to find out the inner goings on?
So the sort of inspiration for it was two things. One was just when I moved to LA and I lived in an apartment complex like that, and you know, the sort of the real original inception of the idea of doing a movie like this was just that I found it to be a really bizarre, and I mean, it felt like a horror movie. Like, even though nothing particularly scary was happening to me, it was just a weird environment. Like, it's a very sunny, you know, very pleasant looking place, and you're waving to people on the breezeways, and you don't know anything about them. You know, you're sharing thin walls with these people, and if anything went bad, you would they would be the people you'd be relying on. And, you know, it was just my first time living in an environment like that, and I found something about it, you know, I couldn't put my finger on it, but there was something about it that just felt very off and very creepy. And so that was really what gave me the idea to do a movie like this. And then I've always been really fascinated by cults. And you know, LA has a rich history. So I was at the time reading a lot about various different groups, past and present. And somehow those two ideas came together, and I just suddenly had this idea that, you know, if somebody moved into a place and was having this kind of slightly creepy experience that I had, and then it turned out that the reason was because everybody was in a cult, I thought, oh, that feels like a movie. So that was really where it came from. And then, I did do a lot of more directed research at that point, reading about different groups and just trying to find inspiration for the specifics of how this would operate, and trying to think through the whole world and how it would work around Sarah. And I didn't talk to any cult survivors. I don't think at that time I would have even known how to find any, but I did in my research stumble on one particular group that became kind of the core inspiration for the community. And it was an organization called Synanon that started in LA in the late 50s. And it was one of the first places where people could go for as a drug rehab at a time when, there really wasn't any such thing. And, I was really struck by the idea that I kept seeing in a lot of these different groups, that they start with very pure intentions. They start by really wanting to do something good in the world, very sincerely. And that was the case with Synanon. And then you just watch how it evolves and curdles and turns sour and becomes violent and oppressive. And I found that fascinating. So Synanon really became kind of the core, but I've stolen from lots of different cults.
Yeah, you mentioned how as well, like, they have good intentions, but then it can turn very violent. And in the case of 1BR, or as it's called over here, Apartment 1BR, Sarah's in a place where she's at that emotional level where getting on board with their ideals and the way that they approach things, kind of, she's in that place in her life where she's a little bit more susceptible to being converted.
Yeah, she's vulnerable.
Yeah, she's definitely vulnerable. Yeah. So this is the question for all of you, and you mentioned beforehand as well with the intense shoot for the film. How, was it fairly short? Was it quite a quick turnaround in terms of the shoot? And what were some of your favorite moments, and how sort of challenging was it?
Well, it was a 15-day shoot, which
okay.
we did over Christmas time, because that's a cheap time to get us all together. Because our money-grubbing producer is no dummy, but we sure are. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, we were really not getting paid, and then we were, sort of sacrificing our holiday with the family. But it was worth it. It was. I knew deep in my soul. Now, we had some reshoots. We had about 4 days in September. So 9 months passed, and by that point, we did have places to be and things to do. I was actually nominated for an Emmy that week. But of course, Alok came and said, we realized we squandered your talent. We desperately need you back. Like, we really need to just reshoot the whole darn thing and make it all about Janice. That's how they got me back. But no, I knew, like I said, the blueprint was there. I knew this had real potential, having already, also done some real train wrecks myself. But I had high hopes for this one. So, that was sort of the timeline. I'm sure, Alok has a whole nother story because, and David as well, obviously, because they were there for the, all the pre-production and post, for that matter, that of course the actors have nothing to do with. So take it away, guys.
So, I mean, the question was, what was our, it was 15 days, 4 days of reshoots. What was our favorite thing? Like, I mean, I was just happy that we, got something done, given all the, stuff that was going on. We had fires that affected our pre-production, where we had to move our office to my house because we didn't know if that office had burned down or not. We were looking on Google Earth and couldn't see anything. There's just a white cloud over over this office where it's supposed to be. That was one thing. And then, we had trouble in terms of casting. We lost some of our original cast 3 days before, and and thank God, to be honest, because we always wanted Nicole to be the lead, but the problem was we had a TV actress who wanted to do it, and then she dropped out, and she took our Brian character, who was a friend of hers, with her, and then our Miss Stanhope character, who was supposed to play the actress who was supposed to play that role, her husband collapsed. Thankfully, Nicole was so gracious to like fly out from New York, have like 3 hours of like, you know, rehearsal with Dave. And, you know, on the other end of it, we happened to get like Susan Davis, who's like the mom in War Games, amazing actress. You know, we talked to her on a Friday. We were shooting on a Monday, and she said yes. And like, you know, we got her that way. And then Giles, you know, as he talks about just reading his part, was driving down from San Francisco or Santa Barbara or something, had to pull over to the side of the road and on his phone just read the thing, right? So like we luckily got this cast together. Okay, fine, we're shooting the movie. Well, in the middle of the movie, we have a production truck that gets stolen in the middle of the night.
Oh,
and
crikey.
by what Naomi Grossman always calls the handsome felon, because this guy is super good looking, apparently, like, you know, to the ladies and stuff. And there was a televised high-speed chase, and like all this shit happened. And we basically, the guy got arrested and supposedly turned state's evidence, but we've not seen any money. But at the end of the day, you know, we went through all those problems, and then, you know, our post-production, when you don't have money and you're asking for favors, it takes longer, you know, and we were trying to apply to all these festivals and just got rejected left and right, and like 16 festivals or something had rejected us before we got the yes. And thankfully they did reject us, because when we finally did get in to, for our premiere was at Fantasia, which is like the biggest, baddest like festival, like, you know, genre festival in the world, besides Stitches, let's say. They go neck and neck. And so we got in there and had a wonderful response to that. And we had a wonderful festival run. And just when we thought everything was looking up and we were going to have a nice theatrical release and premiere and everything else, COVID. But like I say, you know, good things happen, bad things happen. And because of COVID, and because our movie is sort of like, if you think about it, the kind of the perfect quarantine movie, because you're suspicious of your neighbors anyways, but, you know,
exactly.
Watch this movie, you're even more paranoid. We debuted and did very well on VOD within, you know, reason, and to the point that Netflix wanted to pick us up. And then it really, at that point, when we actually hit Netflix and all the work we had done for press and publicity, everyone has been like big team members here, big supporters of the film. It actually culminated and paid off in the way that people started watching it on Netflix. I mean, there's like, you know, you can tell all our friends to watch it. How big a deal is that going to make when it's like there's 80 million subscribers, right? So really, it took traction on Netflix. We were in the top 5 for a week, number 1 as well. So like that was really the payoff at the end of the day, is that all these people on their own sought it out, and then more importantly, told their friends.
Yeah.
So like, what's my favorite part? Working with these fine people and making, like, you know, sort of this dream, this little film that could actually happen, and being supported by the horror community. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
In a long-winded sense of everything.
But yeah, you mentioned that like, you know, it's done amazing on Netflix, and it is a perfect quarantine movie. I definitely, for a matter of fact, are a bit more suspicious of my neighbors now. I don't live in an apartment block. I live in just a normal street. But still, there's always that sense of like, I don't really know you, I don't trust you. But also, I think even though it's great to obviously see a movie on the big screen, you know, the cinema experience is the best thing ever. But seeing this on a TV in the dark in your own house, it just adds to that claustrophobic nature of the unknown and not trusting the people that you think you know.
I have a friend from college who I probably haven't talked to in like a couple years. And I got a message from her, and she was like, "Hey, Nicole, you know, congrats on everything going on. Question for you. I'm moving to New York, and I'm planning to move into this building, but everybody who lives there has been there for 3 years, and like nobody's left." And she was like, "I was just wondering if 1BR is actually based on a true story, and if you think it's safe to move in there." I was like, it's not technically based on a true story. I think you'll be okay.
It is based on a true story.
I mean, yeah. Exactly.
I love how your friend came to you.
Right.
Yeah, you should know, right?
Nicole will know what to do, because I saw her do it in a movie.
Yeah.
Like, can I see your hands? Is that okay? Cool. Yeah.
That's so funny.
I love
Yeah,
that.
it's very funny. I think you'll be okay.
People ask me that as well. You know, is this based on a true story? They weren't actually referencing an actual apartment that they were trying to move into. So that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I know, it's so cute. I was like, oh no.
on a movie like this, one of the fun things is, you're in that little room that we were in where Nicole was up against the wall. We were in that room for, hours and hours and hours. And we're able to kind of jump in and out of the moment pretty quickly. So one minute, Nicole's up against the wall with her hands on the wall, and Brian and I are talking, Giles and I are talking and laughing about something. And David comes over and gives us this really serious note about something. And the minute David turns away, Giles and I look at each other and go, nah, like, we're not doing that, or something like that. And we were completely teasing. We were completely joking that we weren't going to do it. And then a second later, David says action, and we're all right into it. And, Nicole's weeping, and, Brian and I are, all serious. And Giles, I'm sorry. So that's the fun thing about a movie like this, is that, when you're there long enough, you're able to get in and out of your character fairly quickly and still really enjoy the time that you're working. And it was a very trusting environment. We could try different things and do different things, and I think that's why it succeeded for me. Why it was fun for me, because we all trusted each other. And things.
Yeah, I think Todd's right. Actually, I had a similar experience with some of the best moments that you could like. It was quite fun, as well as, I mean, thank God I didn't have a role that was like Nicole's, because she had to stay in it, and I don't know how she fucking managed to do that, because you can't fake that, do you know what I mean? And it takes so much more concentration, I think, to sort of perform those scenes. So, and I thought she did obviously an incredible job, but when it comes to those kind of scenes with me and Todd, it was easier to sort of, you could take a break and get to know one another as well, and like have a laugh. But then, and everyone's, when an actor's working, it's so much fun. It's everything around it apart from working, where it's kind of hell as an actor, I think. And it was one of those, there was no ego as well. That's one of my favorite things about this movie, is that there was just not one ego. There's always one knobhead on a set, and there wasn't one, other than maybe perhaps Todd. Other than that, it was very friendly, and you felt safe to try things. And those are quite rare. Those moments are quite rare in this industry, I think, because it's either the pressure's on so much where you get really anxious or whatever, and you don't feel that safe, or you're just aware of a massive ego, and you're just like, oh, well, we've got to do what that person says because they're the star or something. And and I'm not surprised in many ways that it's done as well as it has, because everyone felt free to kind of like play. And I guess that's the sort of essence of acting, is feeling safe to try things. So I kind of agree with Todd. It's like a whole environment of safety and just getting on.
David would always say to Nicole, do you have one more in you? Do you have one more? And sure enough, she would weep, one more time. I don't know how you did it.
Yeah, it
Don't
was.
know.
It was. Yeah, I mean, this was such an endurance test for Nicole. I know. I mean, for all of us in a way, just because it was such an intense shoot. It was, so fast. But we didn't have time to take time getting into those intense moments. It was like we had to shoot so much in a day. So, it was a couple of setups per scene, and then a couple of takes per setup. And, it like, I remember just sort of like the first time that I knew, oh, we're actually going to make it, was one of those scenes. And, Nicole came in, and we had a little brief talk about what was going to happen. We rolled camera, and she was just there. Take one. And it was like, I said, cut. And in my head, I was like, okay, well, we got it. We got it on take one. So now I have this incredible luxury. I get to try something different for take two. It's like, let's just try something now. And, to have that on a movie like this with so little time was, that's just due to this cast. Like, Nicole at the center of it, with just uncanny, the skill that she brought to that part, but then also being surrounded by a really supportive and positive group of super talented people who, I have a background in acting myself, but like I could not have done what Todd and Brian were doing. Popping in and out of it like that, that's years of experience and talent and that I think was necessary because what was happening was so intense. The speed with which we had to shoot was so intense that being able to kind of like have that safety valve to everybody to relax and have a laugh was super important.
There was also quite a funny moment, sorry to interrupt, where it was a first. And again, you're aware of budget, you're aware of time. And my character, for some reason, David's writing, was always coming out of a door. And it was always...
that fucking door.
But that door was not ever open. So I had to kind of pretend that I was walking out of a door. So every time my character came out of his apartment and tried to sort of, talk to Sarah, that door was closed because it was a real apartment that we did not have permission to use. So I had to kind of step into it and pretend that I just come out, and that was
leaning out into the camera.
When you hire the type of caliber of actor such as myself, you can sell it. So
yeah, I mean, we did not know we were going to get that level of fake door acting, but I hope that is at the top of your resume, Giles. Like,
yeah, I mean,
fake door acting.
It's on your reel, isn't it?
Yeah, if they had an Oscar for that.
What's that?
Well, I can tell you a funny thing too. Like, Giles Matthey was a consummate professional, but we also had another Giles on the set, which was the cat Giles. And then actually a third Giles, which was Haley Giles, who was the nurse who stole Sarah's, father away from her mother and stuff, right? But I'll tell you something, that cat was so fucking good. Like that cat, we call that cat One Take Giles. What we would do is we'd tell Giles Matthey to come over to set when that cat was acting and be like, hey, look at that. It's fucking One Take Giles up there.
Yeah.
What the fuck happened to you? Like,
I mean, I'm a bit raw. I'm a bit edgier. I don't,
Everyone's got their process.
Boring. Yeah.
One Take Giles.
But do any of you have any exciting projects in the pipeline that you can talk about, or stuff that you've already shot and is coming out as and when, or whenever it can? I open the floor to any of you.
Probably not much point in asking Todd that question, but I'll go. I was at, how annoying is this? As an actor, you're obviously very lucky and blessed to work. You don't get that many chances, especially now. But I was meant to be doing a movie, a smaller role in a movie with Aaron Eckhart and Terrence Howard. That was meant to be in San Fran, and I think that shot down. And then just before the pandemic hit, I was in Rome filming a Sky show. And that shut down, and and then I might be doing another thing in Michigan, a gritty cop drama, but we'll see. So yeah, that's me. COVID's completely pooed all over everything.
You gonna put that American accent back on for the cop show?
Yeah. I think so. I think it's kind of necessary, annoyingly, because in Michigan they don't sound like this.
Right.
Anyone can jump in next.
I also voiced the new Mafia series, or rather game.
Mm-hmm.
So I too put on an accent, the mob wife from Chicago, that'll come out actually next week.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I'm really excited about, which honestly, believe me, this COVID has been rough, but it at least forced me to just sit down and write this next one-woman show that I've been talking about for a long time, but really not doing much on. But now I'm literally like maybe a day or two of edits away from being done with the writing on that. So that's really exciting.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Anyone else got anything to add that you're working on, or?
Go ahead, Nicole.
No, auditions have slowly started to pick back up, but there was one project that was a possibility, and then they had to cancel the second season because of COVID. And so, I think things are kind of just figuring out how to move forward safely. So we'll see if that comes back, or what these other projects decide to do. But it's definitely fun to be like having material to read now, and it was quiet for a long time. So, I mean, of course, so many industries were affected by everything going on. But yeah, so we'll see. It's hopefully going to be a good fall.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing a show called Pen 15, and season 2 starts tonight on the 18th. So that's out tonight. And what's really interesting is we were shooting season 3 when the pandemic hit, and I think we only had one more show in the season. And what they've opted to do now is to do that show animation. So we're not going to shoot it. We're going to, I just do voice on it next week, and they're going to animate the last show. So I'm not sure how that'll work. But.
It really pains me to say this, but that show that Todd is on is really, really, really good, and you should check it out.
It's a funny show. It really is. Yeah,
it's hilarious. You will laugh to your sides hurts. I've watched it multiple times. Like I've shown everybody I know it, and they're all like, "This is really good."
Is that just on a US network, or is that out?
I think it's on Hulu.
Pardon, James?
It's on Hulu, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it out in the UK as well, or?
That's a good question.
No,
I don't know.
I don't know either, but you should be able to. It should be on like some form of stream.
Yeah,
I know that sometimes getting hold of Hulu in the UK can be a bit of a pain in the ass. You have to use a VPN and do all sorts of workarounds. But yeah. So is that everyone? Or
I'll say this: we're doing another movie with David as well,
awesome.
And we can't talk about it at all. We're trying to J.J. Abrams.
Why bring it up then?
Well, because I just want to J.J. Abrams the shit out of it. I want you to wonder what's in the box, but I'm not going to show you what's in the box until we show you. That's how it's going to work. And then
that's a good way of doing it.
We're doing another movie with this writer-director Marcel Sarmiento that's called Emergent. That is, kind of a sci-fi horror genre. It's all I'll tell you about it. But we're trying to cast that right now and trying to figure out a way to shoot this safely, not have Batman getting COVID on our set, and so that's the nightmare in my head. But that's what we're doing. But we can't wait to work with David.
That's where COVID came from, isn't it?
I know. Yeah.
That's ironic.
It's come full circle.
Like I said, we can't wait to work with David again. And I think you mentioned it before. Could there be a sequel? We shall see.
Haven't you been getting my calls?
I've been busy.
When are you coming home?
I'm staying.
They put that system in a few years ago after a break-in. Don't worry. Neighborhood's a lot safer now.
I just moved here. I don't really know anyone.
What brought you to LA?
Trying to start a new life.
Missed one here. Any pets?
Nope.
You got it. We're neighbors. Hey, listen, we're having a barbecue. You should come.
Welcome. We'd like to make this place feel like a real neighborhood.
And we all kind of take care of each other here.
Does the plumbing do that every night?
Do what?
So tired all the time. Do you hear that noise?
I don't hear anything very well anymore.
You think I'm crazy? What are you doing? Run! Run! Help! I need help!
This is your home.